Hi guys, I'm Sneha and you are watching my channel Book Junction. Welcome to today's video. So in today's video, I'm going to recommend you some books that I absolutely love and I keep rereading them over and over again. So these books have impacted me in various different ways, whether negative or positive or both. So that's why I keep going back to them. So if you also want to read such books and if you want to add them to your collection so that you can reread them over and over again, then definitely keep watching this video till the end. I'm sure you will find something interesting in here. Now trust me, making this list was so difficult because I wanted to add so many books, but I have boiled it down to only 15 books, which was super difficult for me, and I've only tried to add books that are a little different because you know I can always add The Fault in Our Stars, but everyone knows The Fault in Our Stars, right? So that's why I have tried to add different kind of books from different genres so that this video becomes a little more wholesome. Now since I keep rereading these books and these are my favorites, of course the recommendation can get a little repetitive if you follow me from a really long time, but if you are new to my channel then I'm sure that you will find many interesting and new reads. So yeah, now without any further delay, let's start today's video. Alright, so let me talk about this book that I recently read, but the impact is massive when it comes to this book. So the book is Call Me By Your Name. There's also a movie on this book, based on this book, and the movie is stunning. I watched the movie before reading the book, and after watching the movie I was compelled to buy this book, and trust me, it was one of the best decisions ever. Now when it comes to the genre of the book, I feel this is definitely an erotica. If you are 18 only, then I will recommend this book to you, so please stay away from this book if you're not 18 yet. Now the story is basically, it's like a romance kind of a story between Elio and Oliver. The story is set in the summers in the Italian Riviera, where Oliver comes as a guest in Elio's house and he stays there, helps Elio's father, who is Oliver's professor as well, and he lives there and he stays through the summer and works on his book. So this is the entire plot, and it's just about their summer and how they spend it. So it's a very relaxing book. It's a very chill book. You will enjoy it so much. It's so pleasant. However, there are so many layers to the characters, especially Elio's character is so stunning. The best part about the book is that when you read it, you get to go inside the mind of Elio, because you know he is narrating the story. You get to know what is going on inside his head when he looks at Oliver, because when you watch the movie, yes, the actor has acted really well and it's amazing, but there's so much going on inside the head of the character which he cannot portray. When you're feeling things, everything doesn't really come on your face, right? In the movie, Elio looked so calm and composed, but actually there was a storm going on inside his heart and head. So if you want to know more about the characters, then you will definitely enjoy it. I think the reason why this book impacted me so hard is because the writing is so wonderful. It's so fluid, so lyrical, and just so impactful and very vivid as well. So what Elio goes through, maybe you will not relate to him because it's kind of difficult to relate to a lot of his emotions, but when it comes to feeling it, you will feel it. I mean, you may not relate with him, but you will definitely feel and you will understand him much better. So I think we need to learn and read about characters who are a little different and feel differently. So definitely go for this book. I am sure that if you add this book to your collection, you will definitely go back to rereading this book over and over again. My next recommendation is Elizabeth Gilbert's book Committed. If you have watched the movie Eat, Pray and Love, and if you have also read that book, then I'm sure that you are a fan of Elizabeth Gilbert, because I think the story was really stunning. So this book Committed is kind of like a sequel to Eat, Pray and Love, because in the end Elizabeth falls in love with a man, Philip, and he is not really American. So if they want to live together in America and if they want to continue their relationship, then they will have to get married. However, since Elizabeth's first marriage was really difficult, I mean it was very difficult for her to come out of it, and it was definitely really traumatic, she was not really considering getting married so soon, and she was just not considering marriage at all. So that was something that she was going through and struggling with. So this book kind of gives us a lot of insight into marriage and all these things that you need to consider. Since I'm 25 and I need to wrap my head around this concept more as I grow older, so this book definitely helps in that. And the writing of Elizabeth Gilbert is such that you will need to go back, because it feels like your best friend is talking to you and she is sharing her wisdom. So yes, if you are a fan of the book Eat, Pray and Love, or if you are a fan of the movie, then definitely go for this book. You will enjoy it and you will read this book more than once. The next book that I'm going to recommend you has become my ultimate favorite, and I showed this book to you in my recent haul as well. The book is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Now this book is so stunning, like oh my god, when I finished reading this book I took at least 2 days to get over the trauma of finishing this book, because it's just so good. So the protagonist of the book is Lily Bloom. Yes, her name is Lily Bloom. I mean, that's quite a flowery name. However, she is very ambitious and she's definitely not delicate or anything as such. She has gone through a lot in her life. Now the thing is, in this book you will get to read 2 timelines. That is, one, she is in the present and she has this romance thing going on with this guy named Ryle, and you also get to know about her previous lover whose name was Atlas, and you get to know about him through her journal entries. That is, she used to write everything in her journal and she used to address Ellen. So she used to go to her diary and be like, dear Ellen, today this happened and that happened, and you get to know about Atlas and Ryle simultaneously. Now Ryle and Atlas both are very different. They are poles apart. Ryle is very handsome, attractive, he's a neurosurgeon, and he's amazing, he's stunning, and I mean, he's very attractive. However, he has a lot of issues when it comes to commitment in relationships. He's just not the kind who can be with a person. So he's into one night stands and he's into casual relationships only. He has never been in a serious relationship. On the other hand, Atlas's character is super cute. He is like, oh my god, I cannot even tell you how much I love his character. And since his character is from the past, when he was young and when he was going through a lot in his life, so he becomes even cuter and he becomes even more, he just is amazing. Now the story is as such that Lily is with Ryle and they are trying to figure out what they want from each other, whether they want a serious relationship or not. In that time only, Atlas also reappears in the story and we get to see Lily just being confused and a lot of things happen. There is a very important social message in this book as well, which is about domestic violence, abuse in relationships as well. Now Lily's mother was in an abusive marriage, and from there Lily also gets this trauma, this thing where she dreads this, and there's a lot in this book. So the characters are absolutely stunning. Trust me, I have not read another book where the character development is as amazing as it is in this book. Also, I'm absolutely in love with Atlas. Like, I just cannot tell you how much. So this book is definitely a book that is my prized possession. It's precious to me and I will never ever let go of this book. I will always have this book with me and I will always keep rereading this book until, I don't know, until the end of the world for me, because it is such a book. So don't even think twice, just read this book, please. I request you to read this book. My next recommendation is the book Lolita, and this book is extremely controversial. I'm only recommending this book to people who are above the age of 18, and I've seen that my statistics show me basically that most of my audience is above 18, from 18 to 24. So that's why I've added these kind of books as well. But if you are below 18, please don't go for these books. These books are not for you. Wait till you are 18 and then read this book. Now the story of this book is absolutely disgusting and you will feel sick to your stomach, trust me. So the story is about this middle-aged college professor who falls in lust with his landlady's 12-year-old daughter. I mean, yeah, that's the story, that's the plot of the book, and he will go to any measures to have her, to get her, and to keep her to himself. That's how disgusting the story is. So what makes this book even more disgusting is the fact that it's not written in third person. It's written from the first person perspective of the protagonist himself. So it gets really disgusting when you read his perspective on things and the way he sees her and the things that he fantasizes. It's very horrific as well. However, the thing that impacted me was the writing. The writing is so, I don't even know, it's just so different. I've never read anything like this. The writing is very humorous. It has a comical feel to it, even though we are reading something so disgusting and serious. Just imagine that you read something like this, where you're reading a middle-aged college professor lusting over a 12-year-old girl, and it's hilarious. I mean, it's funny at times, and you feel really guilty about that oh my god, how can I even find this comical? At times I just go back to this book and read a few sentences and just learn how to write, you know. I think if you are a writer and if you're a creative person who is into creative writing, the writing you can definitely learn from this book. Other than that, please don't learn anything from this book. Just take it as a lesson that you should not be anything that is written in this book. My next recommendation is the book Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. So I got this book because I fell in love with its cover. I mean, I can be that shallow, and at times I'm just that petty that I buy books because of its cover. So I definitely bought this book because of its cover. However, I read the description, it's not like I didn't, and it had good reviews. So I purchased it honestly blindly only. So when I started reading this book, I didn't know what was this territory where I was stepping in. However, by the end of the book, I became a fan of this author, like, oh my god. And if you want to start reading classics, I feel like this is a good start. This is a classic book, and this is also gothic fiction. So if you want to start reading gothic books, this one is really nice. Plus, I'm not into horror. I don't read, watch, or I just am not a horror person, and that's why I stay away from this genre. But I wanted to try this book, and this is like the perfect book for someone who is not into horror but also wants to experience it. And this is not actually horror but gothic, and gothic is kind of different from horror, yet it has the same elements. So yeah, when I picked this book, I didn't know that I'm going to love it this much. So this book is about this girl whose name is not revealed throughout the book, which adds a very mysterious element to the entire story. So our unnamed protagonist is this paid companion to this old lady, and she accompanies her everywhere on her travels as well. And on one of her travels, she comes across this man. His name is Maxim, and she kind of falls in love with him, and he also falls in love with her, and they get married even though he is like really older than her. So she gets married, and then he takes her to his mansion, and the name of that mansion is Manderley. So the story starts from there. Now the thing is, Maxim had a wife. Her name was Rebecca, and she used to live in this Manderley, and everyone loved Rebecca and everyone talks about Rebecca. So basically our protagonist is haunted by the phantom of Rebecca. Like, she can feel Rebecca everywhere. She wants to know about her, and by the end of the book, it feels like our protagonist has somewhat lost her identity, because she's just so obsessed with the character and with this phantom of Rebecca that she wants to turn into her. And it's just very scary in a very different way. Like, it's not really the ghost of Rebecca, but it's something else, and it just completely takes over our protagonist. So yeah, the writing is so good, it's so vivid, so wonderful, and it's a classic. So the writing is definitely very old-fashioned, yet it's super interesting, and you can easily connect with the book. So that's why I think kudos to the author for making this book so relevant even for today. I mean, not story-wise, but writing-wise. I think it's absolutely stunning. I feel everyone should read this book. It's definitely a book that you will go on and read more than once. The next book that I want to recommend you is Me Before You. I mean, I read this book recently, but I'm still not over this book. I keep going back to this book and reread it because I just cannot get over the character of Louisa Clark and Will Traynor. So it's definitely a love story between Louisa Clark and Will Traynor. Will Traynor got crippled after an accident, and Will Traynor's mother appoints Louisa Clark as a companion for him, that she will stay the entire day with him so that she can look after him and just be a friend, you know, to him. And eventually they become friends and they fall in love, but the story is just not about love. It's so much more than just the love between Louisa Clark and Will Traynor. Plus this book is definitely thrilling. Like, there is something very big in this book that you will get to know, and by the end basically you will sob, you will cry, and you will weep. So yeah, if you are not ready to cry, then don't go for this book. However, if you want to completely emotionally destroy yourself, this is the book for you, and this book will keep doing it to you unless and until you get rid of this book, which you will not, because you will be obsessed. So trust me, get this book, add this to your collection, read it as soon as possible, and thank me later. My next recommendation is the book Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. Now I have a very weird relationship with this book. So when I read this book for the first time, I absolutely hated Haruki Murakami. I was like, he is the worst author on the face of earth. I hate him. I will never read another book by him. However, even after an entire week, I was still thinking about the characters of this book. I was still obsessing about the characters and everything that happened, and I just couldn't get out of that zone and that environment that this book created. So I went back, I read this book again from start to the end, and I was obsessed and I fell in love with the book. I actually fell in love with the book that I hated initially. So this is that kind of a book. It impacts you in such a different way. And the weird part is that the reason why I hated this book also became the reason why I love this book now. Now the thing about this book, and for any other Haruki Murakami book actually, he does not believe in following every subplot. Now in his story there is a plot, and then there are a lot of subplots. There are a lot of information that you will get to know about different characters, and if you're someone who tries to connect all the dots and tries to understand what will happen by the end, then his books are not for you, because his books are just about telling the story, telling you about the characters, and that's it. Don't try to connect the dots. Don't try to make everything boil down to one climax. So when you read his books, read them with a lot of freedom, with this sense of liberation that you're just reading it for the present moment. You are getting to know about this character, you are getting to know about this event. This event or this character may not have any importance by the end of the book or in the climax of the book, yet you are reading it just because it's a character who is interesting, this event is interesting, that's it. Enjoy the book right now in that moment. So if you are on page 50 and if you're reading about this character, just enjoy it. Don't think about what this character will do in the end. And that's how you enjoy a Haruki Murakami book. So just take this suggestion, add this to your list, and see then what happens. Maybe you will love it, maybe you will hate it, but I'm sure that it will definitely be an amazing experience. My next recommendation is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and if you haven't read this book yet, I'm so happy for you. I'm so jealous as well, because you have something so amazing yet to be experienced, and you can experience it. Like, I can't even tell you what I feel when it comes to this book. I have read this book more than 20 times easily, and I've watched the movie like more than 50 times. I am sure I have, because after every 2 days I feel like, no, I need some Pride and Prejudice dose, and I will just watch the movie or I will just read a few paragraphs from the book. Jane Austen was so amazing. Like, her writing, oh my god, it's something else in itself. It's an entire experience, and when you read the dialogues, they are so humorous and they are just so full of substance. It's absolutely stunning. And all those parts where Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy kind of talk and they interact, oh my god, I will do anything to just sit back and read those parts, because they are just stunning. A lot of people complain that most of Jane Austen's books are all about marriage and all of these things. People go to people's houses, and it's basically about people interacting, and the main thing is getting married. So yeah, definitely that's what happens in most of her books, but what is important is the social commentary. It is the commentary on the characters, and it is the way you also experience those characters. This story is not one of those where two people see each other and instantly fall in love with each other. It's about understanding that person beyond that barrier, even though you have a lot of prejudice, even though you have a lot of pride. I mean, for one reason that you should read this book is the way Mr. Darcy proposes Elizabeth. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. It's one of the best proposals ever, and clearly it doesn't end well. Even today I was reading this book all over again because I just couldn't stop myself. I had to. My next recommendation is the book Another Gulmuha Tree by Amir Hussain. If you guys don't know, Amir Hussain is one of my ultimate favorite authors. He is a Pakistani author, and I loved his book Cloud Messenger. That is that's one of the most amazing books that I've ever read. Another Gulmuha Tree is the second book by him that I read, and I instantly fell in love with this book. So this book is about Usman, who is a writer. He is in London right now, post-war London actually, and he meets this young woman. Her name is Lydia, and she is an aspiring artist herself. Now Usman and Lydia meet and they connect on their common issue of failed marriages and relationships, and they fall in love with each other. So that's really amazing. But because of some work and because of some issues, Usman has to go back to Karachi. But what happens is that Lydia impulsively follows him to Karachi. She also goes there, and they get married and they live together. But eventually they distance, like there is this distance that keeps growing between the two, and they just don't know what to do to bridge this distance. And it's really an amazing read, mostly because of the writing style. It's very poetic, and it's a very thin book as well. It's basically like a novella. So it's very poetic, very lyrical, and if you are someone who is into reading a book just because of its writing, then definitely this book is amazing, and I feel like you will go back to this book over and over again to experience the richness of the writing. My next recommendation is the book Latitudes of Longing by Shubhangi Swaroop. This book is so unique. Like, I feel like this is one of the most unique books that I have ever read. I also have a review of this book on my channel. You can watch that as well, but it's a very old video, so everything will be very different. Now, this book contains 4 different stories, and all 4 of them are connected in their own ways, and they intersect also at times, but they are definitely very independent. And this book is mostly about the relationship between humans and earth, and that is so different, so weird. So if you want to read something extremely unique, if you want to read something so you can imagine a beautiful place, a beautiful earth, then this is the book for you. And trust me, you will go back to this book over and over again to read those amazing passages. There were some sentences in this book that were written so beautifully that I just had to reread them over and over again, and I have still not gotten over this book. My next recommendation is the book The Tattooist of Auschwitz. It's written by Heather Morris. Now this book is a real life story. It's about the man, his name was Lali Sokolov, and the name, like the spelling of the name is Lale, but I searched it on Google. It is pronounced as Lali, so that's why I'm pronouncing it like that. So this story is about him who was sentenced to this concentration camp of Auschwitz, and he was given the job of a tattooist. He had to tattoo numbers on the prisoner's wrist, and there, while he was tattooing, he tattooed the wrist of this woman. Her name was Geeta, I guess, Gita. I mean, I'm pronouncing it as Geeta only. So while he was tattooing it, he saw her and he fell in love with her instantly. It was love at first sight, and he was determined that he will get out of that concentration camp alive and he will live a good life. But now he wanted to live this life with her, and by the end of the story you will get to know if that happens. Do they get married? Do they actually go out of the concentration camp, and what happens? So if you want to know, then definitely get this book. This book is definitely worth buying. It's a story that everyone needs to know, because human spirit is so unprecedented. It actually drives me crazy to think that someone can be in a situation situation like that and yet be so selfless at times. My next recommendation is the book Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini. I had to include this book. I know this book is like very famous and most of you guys must have already read it, but I just could not stop myself from adding it because I know if I don't include this book, people will question me that how could you not at least add one book by this author, because if not Kite Runner, then at least 1,000 Splendid Suns, because both these books are equally good, but I'm adding the Kite Runner because it's a little more special to me. This was the first book that I read by this author and I instantly fell in love with him. So the book is about Amir and Hassan. Amir and Hassan are like best friends, but Amir is from upper class and Hassan is from a lower class. The story is set in Afghanistan. So Amir wants to win this kite running competition and Hassan would do anything to make Amir win this competition, and a lot of bad events happen. One significantly bad event happens that completely changes everything, and then we get to see that now Amir is a grown up, but he's still living in grief and guilt, and there's just so much pent up anger inside him because he couldn't do much for his friend Hassan. However, Hassan was always so loyal for him. So this book is extremely painful, it's heartwarming, and it will make you so I don't know, I don't have the right word to actually describe this book, but trust me, once you read this book, you will just absolutely fall in love with this author, and you will go back to read this book over and over again, because while you are reading this book for the first time, there are so many emotions that you're feeling that at times you will forget a lot of parts in the book, and when you go back to read this book, you will again, those things will resurface and you will experience the book in a very different way. So yeah, this book is definitely something that you should definitely read. My next recommendation is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. Now this book is so surprisingly good. I purchased this book, but I thought it's going to be a light read, but when I was reading the book, I realized that it is so deep and it's actually scary in its own way. So the story is about Eleanor Oliphant, who lives a very average life. She wears the same kind of clothes, she lives through a routine, she buys 2 bottles of vodka every weekend, and she has no friends. She is basically living the life of a robot. She does not have any life in a way, and she's just like that. She's living on autopilot, she's living this default life. She doesn't have any colors in her life, but there is this person, this friend, who enters her life and does something really kind for her that kind of makes her come out of that comfort zone. And once that wall comes down, once she is out of that comfort zone of emotional security, you get to see this Eleanor Oliphant, who is so unique, who is so wonderful, and who has lived through so much pain. So this book is absolutely stunning, and it's something that you will relate to at times. It's funny, it's deep, it's scary, it's just stunning in its own way, and it will impact you in various different ways. So trust me, this book, you need to read this book. My next recommendation is the book Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Sons. Now, Benjamin Alire Sons is one of my favorite authors. This was the first book that I read by this author, and after this book I read 2 more books, The Inexplicable Logic of My Life and He Forgot to Say Goodbye, and all these 3 books are equally good, but I had to pick one for this video, so I'm picking this one. But you can pick any of the 3. I will link all them in the description box below. So this book is about Aristotle and Dante. Dante is very sweet, he's expressive, he's emotional, he's into literature, he's into art, he's just everything sweet and wonderful. Aristotle is also really nice, but he has this wall, you know, he does not express himself. He is going through this identity crisis, who is just not sure about life. He's very confused, and there are a lot of things that are affecting him. The sweetest part about the book is how Dante and Aristotle kind of bring the best out of each other, and these two characters are just so sweet and so different and so wonderful that you will absolutely fall in love with them. The story is also stunning. It's about friendship, it's about love, it's about how you sort of explore yourself as a person, and it's a lot about identity as well. So I think this is one of those books that you will go back to read again because you want to get more of those characters, because you want to know those characters more, and you just are so attached with them that you cannot get over them. So that's the reason why I have added this book to this list. And finally, we have come to the very end of this list. Like, oh my god, I've talked so much, I can feel my throat giving up. So the last book that I want to recommend you is Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. I had to add this book. I have recommended this book so many times on this channel. If you are watching me from a really long time, you would know that I am obsessed with this book. And this is actually a very small book. It's not really a novel, it's a novella, but it is so impactful. It is one of those books that will definitely hit you really hard. If you understand the symbolism and metaphors in this book, then you will never get over this book. So this book is about Gregor Samsa, who wakes up one day to find himself being transformed or metamorphosed into a vermin. So he looks like an insect now, and he looks hideous, he looks disgusting. He cannot understand what to do now. He cannot get up from the bed because, you know, his body has changed. He is not a human being anymore, and he doesn't know what to do. And the first thought that he has in his head is that how will he go to work, how will he earn his livelihood, who will run the family. And eventually we get to see his family's reaction to his metamorphosis and how they treat him, because now he has become completely useless and he has become this burden on them, and they are scared of him. So overall, this book is going to hit you really hard because the symbolism is pretty simple. Alright guys, so those were all my recommendations. I really hope that you all enjoyed this video and found it valuable. If you did, then definitely like, share and subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell icon so you are notified with all the further updates, and I'll see you in my next video. Until then, bye bye.